This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neal Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains by CryptoNews.com, your daily source of all things crypto. Nathan here. How's it going, Neal?
I'm good, Nathan. Weather finally picking up in Montreal. It's not as miserable as it was. So I finally got that Berlin weather that you've been boasting about for the last few months.
Haha, sucker. So, tell me, Neal, you've been looking into mining recently.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what you've been learning, because mining is sort of a whole aspect of crypto that I haven't really had time to delve into.
Yeah, so I've been playing around with Raspberry Pis more just to learn about mining. I'm not going to become a millionaire with a Raspberry Pi, and I think a lot of people know that. But it's just to kind of understand the mechanics. And but what we'll talk about today is more about what's happening in mining in general before we go into what I've done with mining, because I'm still learning, I'm still tweaking before I can, pass on my knowledge to everyone. But it kind of, it makes you realize when you're playing around how difficult it has become recently in the last few months, because this time last year you could have set up a mining rig using graphic cards. But the game has really changed in the last, I would say, 6 months, that it's kind of pointless to go down that route. And with, playing around with Raspberry Pis, I kind of imagine myself, okay, this is my first step to going to having, a mining rig with graphic cards. But now I'm realizing that after Raspberry Pi, maybe the only option you have is to use an ASIC, because a lot of it has actually happened in recent weeks in terms of ASIC miners.
I know a few people that ended up going the ASIC route, setting up a couple of shipping containers or on their property with a bunch of ASICs and plugging into their windmill or their solar panels, or some people that set up like a commercial mining space in a place where electricity is a bit cheaper. But I haven't really delved into it myself. I've been told that it really varies. You got to keep an eye on what's the most profitable coin to mine, and like almost on a daily basis to sort of figure out what's going on. Exactly.
So ASICs have really changed the game, because it's a lot more profitable with an ASIC because the equipment is cheaper and it's a lot more powerful than compared to, say, making up your own mining rig with graphic cards. So what's happened is that in Bitcoin, because so many people have a Bitmain Antminer, you have no choice but to do the exact same as the competition, or else you will just fall behind and the profitability will not be that great. So you had all these other coins that were more graphic card based, and like Ethereum or ZCash and the likes of Monero. But what we've seen recently is Bitmain, which is the only supplier of ASICs, have started to go into their territories. So we now have an Ethereum miner that's being launched. We had one on Monero, and very, very recently ZCash. So this is open up to debate all over again. This debate was a Bitcoin debate, Litecoin debate in the past, but now it's kind of spread out to other communities, and they're having to figure out, okay, what does this mean? So when we look at Monero, they ended up forking Monero to keep it decentralized in terms of, people can still use their graphic cards. One of the main arguments is that, well, with Bitmain, it's the only supplier of ASICs. So therefore, it becomes very, very centralized. Now, Bitmain, of course, are saying, no, we would never do that. We would never hack any network, with a 51%. So, but this is really counter to the whole decentralized world, what crypto is all about. So this makes people uncomfortable. With in terms of Ethereum and whatever say coins based on a similar algorithm, Ethereum communities don't seem to be too bothered, because looking at proof of stake and sharding is in development. So people are like, whatever. If people start using ASICs in Ethereum, well, they'll have some benefit for a short period of time until proof of stake comes out. But with the communities that have been most recently impacted, they're up in the air. They haven't decided yet what to do. So we have ZCash, Zclassic, and Zencash. So this new miner that's coming out in June impacts them. And these communities are trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean? Like, what do we want to do? And they're kind of swaying. Some leaders would say, oh, well, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them. And that's kind of understandable, because Bitmain always seemed to be, very innovative, and, always seem to find a way around these things and these algorithms, and will eventually get you could say. But at the same time, the communities who've invested a lot, like, this is something we built together. And, by allowing ASICs goes against what I've been subscribed to for many years, months, and invested into. So the communities are split, because on one hand, I could actually buy, say, an ASIC for, say, Zencash or ZCash, and like pumping out the coins easily, compared to a guy who's been committed for the last 6 months. So it's kind of like a difficult debate. I think in Zencash, I think they're swaying towards a hard fork, more for the sake of the community. And the main argument they have there is, like, if there was another Bitmain, if there was a competitor to Bitmain, they'd be a lot more comfortable with ASICs. But because there's only one competitor or one company making ASICs, then that's one of the reasons they may fork. But it still hasn't been decided, and so it brings the debate back again. And I started like mining Magicoin. I don't know if you've heard of Magicoin.
I've never heard of Magicoin.
Magicoin is one of few coins you can mine on a Raspberry Pi. I think you could get nearly like 30 cents a day on it. Not a bad rate.
Ooh.
Well, happy days. But I would even
just buy a lot of them.
Yeah. But I would say last January that was possible, but even today now you'd be lucky to get 1 cent. So it goes to show that nearly any coin that is mineable really has been overtaken by ASICs, and it is a sign of the future potentially. But there may be some resistance until another, say, competitor to Bitmain emerges.
Well, one of the things about ASICs, and I remember we had this conversation back when we did our Monero episode, back in the old days when dinosaurs roamed the earth and we had just started researching all of these different projects. I think it was like fall of last year. And I remember looking into Monero and how it worked and why it was interesting. And they had designed their algorithm. I think it was called Kryptonite, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
The idea was to make the algorithm use more memory. Because the way an ASIC works, it stands for an application-specific integrated circuit. It's sort of like if you have a computer chip, it has a certain amount of space on it to put circuits. And if it's a general-purpose chip that's going to run Windows, going to run everything, your browser, your emails, your games, then you have to build in all sorts of different circuits to handle that. Whereas if you want something that's really going to be fast for doing hashes and computing the Bitcoin hash, then you can remove a lot of the onboard cache, a lot of the extra stuff that makes your computer work, and dedicate it all to just doing really, really, really fast hashing. And that's why ASICs are very powerful at this. And the problem is that, if you have a different algorithm that uses more memory, then you can't use an ASIC. Well, if they bring out just a new chip design that deals with the algorithm, the reason that forks can change it is they just change the algorithm so it's not optimized by this new chip, and they'll figure it out. But I mean, switching algorithms is not an easy task. So from my point of view, it's going to be an ongoing debate. Everybody is looking now and asking about what will we do when quantum computers get here, but that's a problem for tomorrow that's sort of sexy and sci-fi. The problem of today is how do we prevent centralization by having one company control all of these specialized circuits for getting around the ability of the average person with a graphics card or a CPU from mining whatever coin.
Yeah, and I guess it makes sense for another competitor to emerge. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened yet. I don't know why. Because
it's hard. I think it's just hard. Like these things are not easy to design. Like computer chips are not easy. Like I guess Intel or AMD could go in that, or even like major graphic card designer would have the skills. But I mean, it's a fairly cash intensive process to get into, and you have to be sure that that's the direction you're going in.
True, true, but the opportunity is huge. Only one, manufacturer. Like I've never seen an industry provide so much in terms of revenue and profit and only have one manufacturer. Like in economics, like you would have someone at least come in because there's enough of a market to share for two companies. So I don't know if it's because many in crypto have moved on, because many crypto companies are just going to work off Ethereum and like token-based ones, and as long as Ethereum is doing proof of stake, they may not care about it. But at the end of the day, the likes of Bitcoin's going to be around for a long time. So the opportunity, it's going to be there.
I'm relatively sure it's going to have to do with risk tolerance at the big semiconductor manufacturers, right? So, if Intel or AMD may very well go in, I don't know, but the thing is, they take a lot longer to sort of gauge the market and say, well, is this going to be a flash in the pan? Was last year a fluke? And how long does it actually take to get the machines up and running and a whole assembly line for an ASIC production? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We have something special to end off with, Neal. I had a chance a couple of days ago to talk with to follow up with someone we had on the show back in, I want to say, November. I chatted with Scott Nelson again from Sweetbridge. He was over in Europe doing a tour. He reached out to me. He was like, hey, remember we chatted last year? I wanted to give you some updates on how we're doing. So I have a little recording and we can play that now. And everyone, have a great week. Keep on hashing. You may remember last year we had a chat with Scott Nelson of Sweetbridge, and earlier this year we had a really interesting discussion with Bob Somerville, also of Sweetbridge. Today we've got Scott again, and we are following up with him because he's going on a semi-world tour. He's in London right now, making big announcements, and we wanted to follow up with him and see how he's doing. Scott, how's everything going?
It's going great. It's great to talk to you again.
Yeah, I understand that you've been going around making some big announcements. I wonder you got my interest up. I haven't heard it yet. What is it?
Okay, well, first off, we finally set the date for our ICO, which is going to be the 21st of May. And secondly, this is a big deal, is we are announcing our accounting protocol, which is a very unique thing that we gloss over in our first white paper because it's the thing that is super proprietary here. And that's going to really make things big and different. What we have is we've built an accounting protocol that is abstract. It can be implemented in both centralized and decentralized technologies and infrastructures. That's for compatibility reasons. And it can handle massive, massive volume. We've already tested it with technology stack at 1 million transactions a second. So
wow,
that's way higher than anything that's out there. It's sufficient to handle all the processing of Visa and MasterCard, plus all the banking transactions in the world. And it does something unique, and that is that it binds the legal title of assets and the accounting records, full-on accounting journal with count coding and everything, with the financial actual transaction, which in today's world, those are all kept in separate systems, and it is the source of almost all fraud that those things are separate.
Wow.
Commerce. And it is the source of almost all regulatory compliance regimes that are in commerce are to make sure that those things are not separated from one another. And so it's the source of many disclosures. It's what a lot of SOX compliance was about. And by making all these into smart contracts that have a single atomic transaction, that either all fail or all succeed, and sits outside of the entities conducting the transaction, you can't get it out of sync. Which means all sorts of audit functions go away. It means that we can provide loans against the quality of the data. It means we can do real-time balance sheets, real-time income statements, real-time cash flows without getting the information from accounting organizations, not waiting for them to close their books. And it means nobody can cheat because both parties or multiple parties in the transaction actually have to sign the transaction in order to make it work. And it is this technology that is the basis of everything we're doing. The wallets where you can basically store any asset built on top of this. They're really just the mechanism you onboard and offboard assets into the accounting system.
That sounds really amazing. Tell me, how are you managing to get up to that number of transactions a second? Are you this on
a technology that has been very well understood and existed for a long time, which is called event stores. And event stores are highly suited to Merkle tree type structures where you are going to write something that's immutable. Mm-hmm. You never actually edit any record. All you do is write new events to a record, which modify or update the record. And the only time you have to actually put them back together is when you do a read. And this can be done massively parallel. It's what Walmart and what Amazon use to actually run their own transaction processing. And that's why you can get to such high levels and still have online real-time data that isn't batch.
Wow, that does sound like some pretty big news. How's the community in London been taking it so far?
Well, we don't know. We're announcing it in just a few minutes here.
Oh, really? So actually, it's breaking news here on the show, eh?
Yeah, you are the first to hear it.
Oh, wow. Well, I think maybe by the time it goes live, you may have announced it already. But wow, good luck with that. And so what would be the next steps for this then? Does it need to be approved?
This is open source, like everything else we've done. We're going to be publishing a reference implementation white paper here shortly on it. We actually already have a reference implementation up and running that we've been using for testing. And it is at the core of everything that we've built so far. So it's the core of our loaning products. It's the core of our exchanges. It's the core of our Bridge coin, which is a transparent cryptocurrency designed to be a currency every government will love. And it's at the base of our wallet. Everything it's at the core of. And we're announcing it today, and we'll be starting to reveal it, do demos of it, putting out a reference implementation, much like the Java virtual machine had a reference implementation. You get to see it.
Well, it sounds very exciting. I'm really glad that you were able to come on the show, give us the update. I'm glad to hear everything is going really well for Sweetbridge. It sounds like things are progressing really quickly. And I thank you for coming on the show, and I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming token sale.
Thank you.
Thank you.